Welcome to Yellow Brick Road. I'm Jordan. This is James, and we're going to continue on to part 4 of Anna versus Tulsi. James right here. That's right. It's my little trick. All right, part 4. Anna Kasparian versus Tulsi Gabbard. It's a sarcastic versus, but fuck it. Put it in there. I believe the segment's going to be on hawkishness, if that's a word. And I believe Anna's going to use some clips from Fox News. Tulsi's appearances on Fox News. That's right. So let's get into it. Let's go right into it. Let's do it. Yeah.
In reality, Tulsi's hawkishness is actually pretty well documented. Here she is on Fox News in 2016 following a Republican primary debate, arguing that the Republican candidates weren't proposing policies that were harsh enough against Islamic extremism.
Republican doesn't mean shit to normal person. I don't know. I hate the aspect of team playing, so when you put emphasis on Republican, I don't give a fuck. Like Ron Paul was a Republican, had better policies than a lot of the Democrats that were running.
Oh, okay.
Maybe someone that's equal with them would be like Dennis Kucinich or something. Back then in like 2008, 2012 and shit like that. But whatever. No reason to emphasize Republican. It's not a team game. It's a fucking who has the best ideas, period.
Like,
that's all.
It's like, the neocon. No. Republican.
Who cares? Let's see. Let's keep moving.
Bush neocon.
No, I'm saying who cares about the labels? It's like what did they do?
Oh, you're an asshole.
What did they say? What did they do?
Yeah. You're an asshole. Get out.
Yeah.
Cheney's like, huh? Get out.
I mean, the team playing is how Obama moved the Democratic Party to the right. To the right. That's how he did that, by just labeling himself a Democrat. Now he could do all these centrist to center-right policies and make it seem like, oh, that's what the left is. That's what liberal means. Meanwhile, Jimmy Dore's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I guess.
All right, let's continue.
Are the candidates talking on either side enough about these issues to your liking?
No, they're not. And they're not being held accountable for their positions on these issues of national security, on these issues of how to defeat not just ISIS, but Al-Qaeda, Jabhat al-Nusra, and a number of the other Islamic extremist groups that do pose a threat to the American people and the United States.
Well, they say that it's the administration's fault for not being more diligent. Do you hear anything out of the Republican candidates that sounds more aggressive?
I listened to some of the debate that we had just last night, and I had an early wake up, but I listened to the part relating to national security and foreign policy, and was disappointed to see that there was a lot of strong talk against ISIS, but the reality on the ground in Syria today is that if ISIS is defeated, you have Al-Qaeda affiliated group Jabhat al-Nusra that is poised to take over all of Syria and create this emirate or caliphate there that would be a hub for Al-Qaeda.
In other words, another morphed terror group, right?
Exactly.
And
that's the key here, Neil, is that people talk about ISIS, but you're not talking about the ideology, the radical Islamist ideology that's fueling ISIS, Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra, and a whole variety of other ones.
Ted Cruz says you bomb until the sand glows.
Well, I want to...
Fuck Ted Cruz.
Yeah, fuck that
him.
Creep.
That fucking Munsters vampire looking
Munsters.
motherfucker. Fuck that guy.
Say why I think that there's not enough focus being put on these Islamic extremist groups with the current policy, which I think is important to recognize, and that is because the current policy is the United States is working with so-called allies like Saudi Arabia, Turkey, Qatar, and other states to overthrow the Syrian government of Assad and are aiding and supporting directly many of these Islamic extremist groups in doing that.
Now,
so if you've looked into Tulsi Gabbard's policies in like the Middle East and things like that, she does talk about funding moderate rebels, and us funding them is keeping them going, like al-Nusra and Al-Qaeda in Syria. So Anna seems to be painting the picture that Tulsi means we need to bomb more of these groups. Like, we can't just bomb ISIS. We got to bomb Al Qaeda. We got to bomb Al Nusra.
Now it's like, are you like putting words in her mouth?
Yeah, this sounds like she's using Republicans to scare you into like, oh, she must be like that. She's a George Bush Republican.
Yeah, she must be
She's masquerading as a Democrat.
Yeah.
That seems extremely dishonest on Anna's part. That's what this seems like. Because I've heard Tulsi's solutions, which are we need to stop funding these guys. We need to stop these regime change wars. When she says radical Islam, obviously she's making a distinction, right? Because she's talking about Al-Qaeda, al-Nusra in Syria. And guess who's the president? You have Assad in Syria, who is a Muslim. And majority of the country is Muslim. So clearly she's making a distinction between guys who strap bombs to themselves and an actual nation.
Yeah.
She's not just saying, when she says radical Islam, she doesn't mean all Muslims. She clearly doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
So I think it's dishonest. I think it's a play on words and being dishonest by Anna.
Team play.
Yeah. Maybe it's her just trying to be right about something. Yeah. Like, I told you about Tulsi.
Maybe
the clips I have.
Maybe the Gillette money went to her fucking head.
So the way she's going about this just seems dishonest.
Yeah.
And the past parts we did, part 1, 2, and 3, it's like, okay, you can make a case that she's not being dishonest. If this is your first time ever hearing about Anna Kasparian and all that. But once you get to this part right here, and you understand some of Tulsi's stances on Middle East and foreign policy, now she looks very snake-like. The way she went about Republican on Fox News. Yeah. It's like, what game you playing at?
Like, you whistling? What's going on?
Yeah. So let's hear more.
Like, my team.
Yeah. Let's hear more.
I agree with Tulsi and how destructive it is to work with Saudi Arabia. We've talked about that on the Young Turk show quite a bit.
How about moderate rebels in Syria?
Ooh.
Do you talk about that?
Ooh.
Do you agree with Tulsi's point about that? Because that seems to sound like her solution to all this.
Yeah.
It's not just an open bombing campaign. The way you're making it seem. You're making it seem like she's to the right of the Republicans by saying Republicans aren't doing enough. Right? Maybe she means they're not doing enough as in they're not actually looking at what's going on here. They're not looking at the policy. Not that they're not bombing enough.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
But her emphasis on identifying and fighting radical extremism is what makes unsavory figures like Steve Bannon love her. She seems to believe that it's solely the religion or ideology of the terrorists that lead to terroristic acts that we see today.
I don't know if that's true or not. Either way, even if she did believe that, she still makes a distinction between guys who want to strap bombs to themselves and people who are just practicing religion.
Right.
Me personally, I don't believe it's strictly ideologically based.
No.
I think it's money changing hands.
Mercenaries.
Yeah, that's money changing hands, basically.
Well, I'm trying to be specific here. It's a little odd, right? When you see it, it's Muslim extremists. Really, how come that ISIS dude? How come like that dude's white?
Yeah.
You can see under that mask. What's going on here?
And the majority might be politically motivated, as in, you guys are fucking our, land up, our cities up, and we want revenge. So here's how we do it.
Yeah.
Rather than Allah commands us to kill the West.
Like I said in the other video, it's like, we want you guys out.
Yeah.
And then the media will say, look, they're terrorists. It's like, they're ignorant fuckers. I wouldn't necessarily call them terrorists.
Yeah. Allah could just be seeking revenge for a lot of the tragedies the U.S. government has caused. Or you could just say Western nations in general.
I'll say it again, right? I'll say it again with the perception of the September 11th attacks, A bunch of people get radicalized.
Yeah.
And they fucking go in and they go and engage in an illegal war. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you just fucking sit down and look at it.
Right? Yeah. If you start getting your houses bulldozed and kids getting shot and innocent people getting shot.
Yeah.
It's like, well, then all of a sudden Hamas pops up. People start cheering for Hamas.
Yeah.
Not saying they do that, but Hamas gets voted in all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if you keep fucking pushing them and you're sort of giving them no choice but to vote in some sort of military.
Oh yeah, not only that, right? Reports of like people getting shot in wheelchairs.
That's after Hamas, but
my bad.
That's probably happened beforehand.
You're putting like gasoline on the fire.
Yeah. Doctors being shot, nurses being shot, journalists being shot and killed, not just shot, killed. Yeah. Let's continue.
While the ideology of extremism certainly does play a significant role, Tulsi never acknowledges how U.S. foreign policy helps bad actors in radicalizing others.
I believe she does, doesn't she? I'm pretty sure she does do that. She talks about, I don't know, these regime change wars. That's the biggest part of her platform, is these regime change wars, to where we topple governments and they get replaced by some extremist group.
Yeah. I believe she did it on CNN.
Huh?
I believe she did it on CNN.
Yeah, she's done it in CNN, as far as the regime change shit.
Yeah.
CNN, The View, any platform I've heard her on, she's talked about the regime. Yeah. That's been her main fucking point, is that we fuck these countries up, and then we have these terrible consequences as a result.
Yeah.
I think radicalizing people is a part of that. I think Tulsi thinks that as well.
If we're using drone strikes that kill innocent civilians abroad, that encourages and persuades their living family members to join terrorist organizations in fighting the West. Tulsi's ideology toward Muslims actually aligns quite a bit with the right wing. In 2014, she introduced a bill that would have halted the visa waiver program for allied countries whose citizens had gone to fight with extremists. Tulsi claimed that the waiver program, quote, puts the American people in danger. Look, it didn't pass, but had it passed, people from the UK, France, Germany, and many other European countries would have been forced to apply for visas before visiting the United States.
Here we go.
Yeah, I believe it was extra vetting being done, extra investigation on who the individuals are, which I don't think is the worst thing ever. I would consider doing that. But let's get more of a background check. Let's get you in a place that, like, let's say it's refugees. It's refugees. Let's get you in a place where it's like, okay, you're safe here. Now we can go through background checks and make sure you're not one of the guys that want to strap bombs on themselves.
Sure.
Just like
ideally, right?
Just like the shooter in New Zealand. Like I might want to do a background check before I let him go into someone else's country. That just makes sense to me.
Yeah.
Make sure they're safe first. Make sure they're safe first, then do checks. I don't see the problem with that. Also, I forgot to bring up, she's using this argument of, well, Steve Bannon likes this type of policy, so that means she's just like Steve Bannon. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
I watched Nico House's video, and he said the perfect words for it: guilt by association. Which is some of the dumbest shit ever. Right? Like, if I had the chance, I would conversate and try to debate with, like, Hitler. Does that make me guilty? Guilt by association?
Makes you a self-hating black man.
It means Hitler's in fucking trouble. That's what that means. He's in fucking trouble.
Und now I'm going to end the day with a nice listen to the radio. Then you fucking, like, you know, instead of coming through the door, you fucking, like, open the window, you hop through that, you know, because of genetics. And he just looks at you and says, Scheiße.
Yeah, I'll hurt Hitler's feelings. All right, so once again, I think making extra checks so that things are, because if an attack happens here, a terrorist attack in particular, there's gonna be a certain amount of the population that's gonna be like, fuck, we need to fuck them up. We need revenge. Can we bomb this area? Where'd these guys come from?
Yeah.
So we saw it, like you said, 9/11. We saw it. That was a large scale version, but you saw what happened.
Horrible event happens. A bunch of people who are ignorant become radicalized and are suddenly in for engaging in a illegal war that they know very little about.
Yeah.
Tell me the difference. and then religion's thrown into it when it's like God, like, you know, like for God, or Bush said something about God. He put God in there.
Yeah.
And people were like, it's like, oh, now it's an idea.
Yeah, do we really want the potential corrupt nature of our government playing off people's emotions to get us to do really bad and dumb shit?
You can even look back at Pearl Harbor, right?
70+% were in favor of the Iraq War. That's the population.
Yeah.
70+%.
Pearl Harbor.
Not that I trust.
Popular opinion was we don't want to go into war.
Yeah.
President at the time wanted to. People said no. And after Pearl Harbor happened, then they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, would they fucking do it? You bet your ass.
Let's continue.
Tulsi was also extremely critical of Obama's refusal to use the phrase radical Islamic terrorism, which was a common criticism coming from the right wing.
What difference would it make if he used the phrase radical Islamic terrorism or extremism?
Look, this is something that I've disagreed with the president on because I think it's important that you identify your enemy, you know who they are, you call them by their name, and you understand the ideology that's driving them. You know, I understand and appreciate the president's concern, which is he doesn't want all Muslims to be cast with the same targeting or the same look as this handful of radical jihadists. And I agree with that. No one wants that to happen. But that's why I think it's important that we make this distinction.
As I mentioned earlier, Tulsi's policies and rhetoric toward Muslims.
All right. So, yeah, it sounds like she's making the distinction so that you don't recognize normal Muslims as extremists or radicals. Just like I bring him up again, the New Zealand shooter, right? They call him a white supremacist. There's a reason why that word supremacist is in there. That makes more sense to me.
Rather than this European nationalist. Like, guys.
This white man. It's a white man thing instead of
a white man
extremist or supremacist thing. So I don't mind.
Labels are important when it comes to these things. You know?
Yeah, I don't.
It's like calling somebody like, oh, the left. It's like, stop it. That's such a fucking horrible, like, broad generic thing to say.
Yeah.
And it's easy.
And it's a way to cop out of an argument as well.
Yeah. So, next time before you take big money from Gillette, maybe you should think.
Yeah.
Am I a biased fucker?
I mean, this is leaning more towards the SJW realm of things.
Yeah, I know.
Rather than the people that want real answers. Like, fuck it. Call them something to make sure that these guys don't get recognized as these guys.
Yeah.
We know these guys are different.
Yeah.
Okay, they practice Islam and they're fucking radical about it.
Yeah.
Like, should we stop saying fundamentalist Christian?
Yeah.
As opposed to...
I got you.
Yeah. Do they get it, though?
She probably put her soul in the bun. That's where it stays most of the day.
All right, let's continue.
Caught Steve Bannon's attention. And soon after Trump was elected, she was invited to meet with the president-elect for a possible role within his administration.
Once again, bringing up Steve Bannon.
According to a source who spoke to The Hill, Bannon loves Tulsi Gabbard, loves her, wants to...
So does David Duke. What does that mean? Does it mean something? I don't think so.
Work with her on everything. She would fit perfectly, too, inside the administration. She gets the foreign policy stuff, the Islamic terrorism stuff. Bannon appreciates Gabbard's willingness to publicly criticize President Obama for refusing to name the enemy, radical Islamic terrorism.
Also, once again, Bannon might have a different perspective than Tulsi Gabbard. In fact, I'm sure they do. Well, at least outside of foreign policy.
From what I see. Right.
From what I see, I think he means something different. I think Bannon's in the camp of blaming Muslims in general. Like, it's a part of your thing. You guys are doing this.
Listen, it's an ideology.
I'm guessing, by the way. I'm not sure about that.
I'll take your word for it for right now.
I think Tulsi's more of, okay, we need to understand that these guys are extreme versions of this thing. Let's understand this thing.
Yeah.
NBC News reports that Trump asked for the meeting, Gabbard says, to discuss Syria, the fight to defeat ISIS and al-Qaeda, and other foreign policy issues. Tulsi also said, while the rules of political expediency would say I should have refused to meet with the president-elect, I never have and never will play politics with American and Syrian lives.
Like, whoa, what a terrible statement to say. Like, oh, I'll meet with anyone. It's like, I met with Assad, I met with Trump, I met with this person. Like, that makes sense to me. I would do that.
Mm-hmm.
Either to put them down, like, you're fucking wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
or to say, we agree here.
It's awful over there. You know, it's awful. People are suffering. I'm going to go talk to them. What?
You Assad apologist. You Assad toady.
Like, man, whoever says that shit should literally get, like, slapped with, with one of those rubber chickens.
Yeah.
And they got to be, like, put, like, baby powder and lotion on it or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean?
And this is why your guys' numbers are falling. Jimmy Dore even explained it. Like, these guys who spent... He's talking about Russia, though. Like, you guys spent 2.5 to 3 years talking about Russia, and you've just fallen behind because majority of the population are not buying that shit.
Yeah.
And then you try to do the same thing with foreign policy.
Okay, that's fine. So let's take a moment to talk about the Syrian lives she says she cares about so much. If you can recall, back in 2015, there was a giant debate raging about whether or not the United States should accept Syrian refugees. These are civilians who were desperately fleeing a war-torn country in search for safety. Tulsi actually voted for a GOP-backed bill to make it virtually impossible for Syrian and Iraqi refugees to come to the United States. Remember, this was before Trump came into power and ordered the Muslim ban. Tulsi was one of 47 Democrats to join the House GOP in passing the SAFE Act, which would have added extra requirements to the already thorough refugee vetting process. It would effectively halt the admission of Syrian and Iraqi refugees into the country.
Once again, okay, make sure these guys are safe, then do heavy vetting. I don't see the problem with that. If they're safe, taken care of, they have access to food and water and all that shit, why not over-investigate? Why not do that? I don't see that as the worst thing ever. Now, she may be playing, Anna may be playing identity politics to where it's like, would you do this with a white guy from England? It's like, you're doing it specifically for, Muslims. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, they're coming from countries where people become radicalized. So it makes sense to me. I don't know. I don't know. How about you? That makes sense to me. It's not like...
It comes with the territory of team playing, I guess,
yeah.
when you want to, like, oh, look at her trying to use labels.
Yeah.
And by the way, labels as far as, to an extent where it's, like, actually, like, you're going to seem credible. How about we make a distinction between, right, people who are extremists and people who aren't? Because then that way you're going to leave the door open to guys like Sam Harris.
Yeah.
See what they do. I'm like, hey, I could call a bunch of people here Christian, like, extremists and shit back in 2001. It's hard to do, like, when you fucking put religion into there.
Yeah.
And now you're fucking, like, all of a sudden, something, like, crazy happens. Like, it's, like, they say it's a part of God. That's what they're saying, Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Like, can you imagine that shit? And then you fucking start looking in the Bible and finding a bunch of shit to make points off of. See here? Smiting people. See?
If I was Syria, I'd be heavily vetting any Americans that want to go in their country. Because you got fucking CIA setting up, like, protests and moderate rebels and all this shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It makes sense to me. I don't mind that at all. As long as they're not just like, just shoot them and shit. If they're just pulling them aside and looking at their record and trying to find out, like, oh, okay, who are you? Are we sure this is your real name and all that? Why not do that? I don't know.
Yeah,
maybe uncomfortable.
Don't, like, fucking scare them like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Make them seem desperate. Like, listen, we're a little suspicious of you. We're gonna keep you in here. It's not horrible by any means. Just a room.
Yeah. You're taken care of.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
If that's not the case, then she should have brought that up.
That's what I would do. Yeah.
If they're like put in cages, then she should have brought that up, but she
Yeah.
didn't. So I'm assuming it's not.
There were other foreign policy issues Tulsi agreed with Republicans on. While she has been critical of how Trump pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal, she was actually a vociferous critic of the deal back in 2015, saying at the time, quote, "We cannot afford to make the same mistake with Iran that was made with North Korea." In other words, she wouldn't have approached the Iran nuclear deal from the framework of diplomacy. Also, keep in mind that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was highly critical of the deal.
Highly.
From what I understand, she did end up voting for the bill, the Iran nuclear deal. Also, she said, she's like, guys, shouldn't we sit down and look into the details of it? I believe that was her stance. Like, you're getting all this fucking paperwork and we don't have time to sit and really look at it. You're trying to get us to vote for it immediately. That's another thing. Yeah, I would consider those. But ignorant, political novice, I got to look more into it. But that's what I read. That she ended up voting for it, but she was initially like, okay, we should read through this first. Like, thoroughly read through it, not just pass it because I'm on Democrat side, so we do this.
And continuously pushed for U.S.-backed escalation toward Iran. When he delivered his unprecedented speech to Congress in March of 2015 to criticize and end the deal, Gabbard refused to join Democrats who boycotted that speech, and she really attended it herself. She has been honored by right-wing pro-Israel forces at the World Values Network Gala, which was co-hosted by influential Republican donor Sheldon Adelson.
So this is more of this is more of guilt by association type stuff. Also, I just want to mention Tulsi has made changes as far as at least her rhetoric and her voting and her voting record. She has made mistakes in the past and voted accordingly after that. Like, oh, I need to make a change here, and she voted differently. Granted, once again, as Jordan, I'd be like, no, I'll do it instead.
Yeah.
But I'm trying my best to analyze this politically.
Right, it's like one thing to make a mistake, but ideally, right, you'd rather have someone there that knows what to do. It's one thing, right, to, like, oh, I misread that. You know, or, oh, I spilled the coffee versus, okay, guys, I know I made a mistake voting for that person. It's like, you should already know what to do before you step into this place, you know?
Yeah.
This isn't a place to learn. That's why I'm like...
Yeah, 100%.
I can't vote for any of these fucking people.
Yeah, I'm not voting
But
either.
I'm also, doesn't mean I won't take a back seat and let, you know, no soul bun here fucking take Gillette money and possibly lie about Tulsi Gabbard, you know, trying to sway you to her team. So it's like,
at the same time, it's like, if something makes sense or someone's getting, like, you know, bashed for poor reasons, then I want to call that out too. Here we go.
A photo from the event shows Gabbard posing with avid Trump supporters Rabbi Shmuley and Miriam Adelson, the wife of Sheldon. Now, keep in mind, though, Miriam Adelson is the type of person who's been very vicious against Palestinians and even considers them a made-up people.
made-up people.
Yeah, more guilt by association.
Yeah. Imagine you're fucked. Hey, Tulsi, we take a picture of you? Sure.
Yeah. Also,
see, she hates them.
I also expect Tulsi to be moved by her base, right? People that are gonna vote for her. Those types of people are gonna be like, "Whoa, you're wrong on this," and I think she would react accordingly. I think. A guy like Trump on the other end is like, no, I'll do this. Like,
I'll do this. I'll do whatever I want.
I'll say this, but I'll do this. He seems more like a snake as opposed to Tulsi, who seems like, all right, it's like a childlike innocence. You're meek in this scenario.
I think you forget he's not really a New Yorker.
Yeah.
Like a fake one. My businesses are there, but never, and you'll hear me, I'll probably try to pretend to speak like one.
Yeah. So if Tulsi is asked about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and she gives a poor answer, people will be like, what the fuck? And I bet she'd change.
Yeah.
Or at least consider changing. Fucking hate politicians. God damn it.
You guys are.
Like you said it perfectly.
What?
Like they should already be made already. They should already be baked,
well,
cooked,
wouldn't you,
all the way through.
There's the symptoms for the archetypes of the hero, you know?
Yeah.
But wouldn't you rather have the hero already there?
Yeah.
That's what it should be, rather than, my bad guys, I accidentally fired a missile, oops. When that happens, you fired without any evidence? Alright, you're an investigation. And if we find out you lied or any of this dumb shit, you know, you're out of here. That's what should have happened.
Yeah.
Any of these guys.
Yeah, we shouldn't have to guess, really.
No.
Things shouldn't be vague. Let's continue.
There are also worries about her affinity for strong men like President al-Sisi in Egypt, who Tulsi says
strong men named al-Sisi.
You sis.
has, quote, shown great courage and leadership in taking on the extreme Islamist ideology while also fighting against ISIS military to keep them from gaining a foothold in Egypt. But look, as I'm
not gonna lie, I'm completely ignorant on that scenario.
I don't know.
No fucking clue. I will look into it, though.
Sure, but coming from her mouth, I don't know. So
Yeah.
I'll look into it.
I mean, they're gonna have their conversation, so hopefully she asks these questions rather than sticking to identity politics type of stuff. Like, Steve Bannon agreed with you on this thing.
Yeah, no.
How about the term radical Islam?
Or how about
I was gonna do the.
I was about to go like, you know, if we really think of it's if we if we go with like you know Tulsi, I really wondered if we just
Look up El Duce, ELDUCE. Just look it up.
It's like, and you know what Tulsi might do? It's like, it's like, I mean, it's like, straight left. Knocked out, then it's like,
All right, so.
a bald Alex Jones with a wild beard. That's all I'm saying.
All right, so, yeah I want to hear straight up, concrete fucking answers.
Yeah.
And apparently Anna will have that opportunity when she interviews Tulsi Gabbard. And she really needs to push her feet to the fire. If you're really against this candidate, you're like I'm not voting for this person. I don't like her policies. I don't like the way she says radical Islam or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, really push her on those issues. That'd be awesome to hear. It might even be video worthy from us. Who knows? Let's continue.
mentioned earlier, the war on terror is not so cut and dry. It leads to unintended consequences and innocent lives lost.
That's why she's against regime change wars. Not even just in the Middle East, also Venezuela. Yeah, I would think to give her credit for that, at least.
The U.S. has been selling al-Sisi weapons to help in the U.S. battle against extremism. In 2015, Egyptian forces bombed a convoy of Mexican tourists about 5 times over a period of 3 hours, even after local security forces on the ground had stopped them twice and cleared their passage. 8 Mexican tourists were killed in the mistaken attack, which showed...
If that's true, that's fucking horrible.
Yeah.
And that's why I don't trust any of these motherfuckers, man.
No.
So if I were Tulsi, I wouldn't be like, oh, you're the president of this guy. I've partially seen your record. Okay, I trust you with this. We should fund you with something. Like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Only funding that should be coming out of your pockets is, here's food, here's water, here's things to build houses with. You're thinking about it, aren't you?
And here's they open a box and it's like, here's food, here's water, and
So yeah, it'd be like a very, 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 very short leash with anyone I'm in contact with when it comes to these political circles, foreign and abroad.
Shows you that the
I mean, here and abroad.
yeah.
intelligence is often imperfect or inaccurate. That's a huge part of the reason why I'm against drone strikes.
But she also, on a CNN stage, brought up the U.S. lying to us to get us into Iraq. That's a huge story that I haven't heard politicians say before.
No, they're not.
At least
touching it.
active politicians say.
Oh, they're not going to touch that with the 10-foot pole.
Yeah. Also about us funding fucking moderate rebels in Syria.
Yeah, no.
You don't hear that either.
No.
So, I mean, you should logically connect that to Tulsi's policies, that she's willing to say those things out loud. Connect that to her policy, and it's like, okay, she might not actually mean this horrible thing. When she says drones, she might not mean what George Bush and Barack Obama mean and Donald Trump mean. She might mean something else.
While these foreign policy concerns are legitimate, I want to end this segment by noting that there are some great progressive policies that Tulsi supports. She's a fighter for Medicare for all, supports a $15 minimum wage, and understands the severity and urgency of climate change.
How about the thing that she's so popular about, which is her foreign policy? Why don't you bring the good points of that up? Instead, you're just associating her with these guys. When she says drones, she means what Steve Bannon means, or whatever. When she says radical Islam, she means what Steve Bannon means. Come on. Republican? Fox News? Come on, guys. It's like, that's unfair. And looking at her public stances on the biggest stages she's had, the biggest stages she's ever had in her career, she's talked about the U.S. intelligence lying to us. She's talked about funding these rebels. She's talked about coups in Venezuela. Like, come on, man. You can't hear those three things and then look back at her stances on foreign policy and be like, oh, she's just like Trump and Obama. In fact, one of her talking points is understanding the
Casualties.
the collateral damage of war.
All right.
It's like I have to go after every shift. I have to read through the list of everyone who's been hurt or killed or whatever.
Yeah.
She knows the price of war. That's one of her talking fucking points. Jesus Christ. And she's not just talking about the U.S. military. She's also talking about the people in these countries.
Yeah.
That's why she went and visited them. Fuck.
Her camp has been in touch with TYT to schedule a possible interview, and I look forward to chatting with her about the issues I raised in this segment.
Don't chat with her, grill her. You just made these points like it's like these are neocon type of things that you brought up.
Yeah.
You should be grilling her. If you have the opportunity to grill her, grill her.
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
I mean, what the freak?
Poke the bear.
Don't have a chat fucking like I'm here to kill.
Exactly.
It's important to have an honest conversation about all the candidates so we can make the right decisions. Valid critique is an important part of the process, and I hope that everyone understands that.
Hope you understand it.
All right. Get copyrighted for their music. All right, that's it from us. This was an uneducated reaction, part 4. Tulsi Gabbard, Anna Kasparian. Hawkishness. Here's hawkishness is the topic.
Yeah.
All right, that's it from us guys. Please subscribe if you like. Comment, like, dislike. Tell us what we're missing. That's important. We do read all the comments.
Yeah.
We look through the links that you send us.
We also
Fuck, I tried to time it. So yeah, leave a comment. Tell us what's up. Tell us what we're right on, what we're wrong on. Your opinions on Tulsi, on Anna, on us, whatever. Let it be known. Also, donate to Devon's Journey to Recovery. The GoFundMe link is in the description box. Check that shit out. Leave a donation. Any amount will help, guys. And with that said, give this video... This is the last part, by the way. This is part 4. That's it. It's over. Finale. Fiduciary. It's over. That's it. Give this video a thumbs down.
Say you wanna get in.